Nothing Worthwhile, the recognized symbol of excellence in crappy podcasting. Live from a sold-out Comerica Theater in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, it is the Nothing Worthwhile 1500 download special, the Stallone Awards, celebrating all things Sylvester Stallone. Starring Andrew Gruthius, with special guest from the worst of the best podcast, Ryan Rabalkin. Musical guest, Survivor, and hosted by Evan Moody. This is serious deep voice announcer saying, ladies and gentlemen, the Stallone Awards.
Rocky, do you believe that America is the land of opportunity?
Yeah. The world meets nobody halfway. Do you understand what that means? If you want it, Mike, you gotta take it.
You know, I've been coming in for 6 years, and 6 years you've been sticking it to me. I want to know how come.
You don't want to know.
Yeah, I want to know how come.
You want to know?
I want to know how.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. Because you had the talent to become a good fighter. And instead of that, you became a leg breaker. Some cheap second-rate loan shark.
It's a living?
It's a waste of life.
The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits. Cowards do that, and that ain't you!
It's over, Johnny. It's over!
Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off! It wasn't my war! You asked me, I didn't ask you! And I did what I had to do to win, but somebody wouldn't let us win!
You know, there's only 3 steps into that ring. Just 3. And tonight it's gonna look as high as a mountain. And when you climb through them ropes, it's gonna be the loneliest place in the world, because you're gonna be in there with another fighter who wants to take you out. So now you gotta ask yourself, are you here to prove something to other people, or prove something to yourself?
What is it you said to the kid? It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit. And keep moving forward. How much you can take. And keep moving forward.
I don't want a confession. Set me up. You set everything up. I'm talking about Chick Weber. Goons. Cop that's gonna rape Melissa. Dallas. Killing of the kid.
If I can change,
Я думаю, что каждый тоже изменился.
and you can change,
Вы можете измениться.
everybody can change!
I want your badge, I want your weapon, I want your ass. Who the fuck do you think you are?
He thinks he's Rambo.
Rambo is a pussy.
What do you know about that? Old Harry here's a soldier. Rambo. John Jay?
You let me go and I'll pretend this never happened. You don't, and I'll burn this fucking place to the ground on my way out.
You're finished! You've gone as far as you're gonna go!
Rambo, put your hands in the air!
Showtime.
I didn't come here to rescue Rambo from you. I came here to rescue you from him.
You know almost every sicko in this city. Do what you do best.
This is where the law stops. And I start.
We are the future! No!
Your history. Boom.
Welcome to Gateway, Leone.
I just want to say one thing to my wife who's home. Yo, Adrian! I did it!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 274th annual Nothing Worthwhile Stallonies. And now, please welcome your Master of Ceremonies, the host of Nothing Worthwhile, Evan Moody.
Wow, look at this. Thank you, Mr. Serious Deep Voice Announcer. We are coming to you live from a sold-out Comerica Theater in downtown Phoenix, Arizona for the Stallonies Awards. We are here celebrating all things Sylvester Stallone. Before we get to our esteemed panel of judges, please let me get to my oh-so-important host monologue. Have you guys seen in the papers about this COVID-19? It has knocked out more people than the Rocky franchise. All right, listen, guys, I would love to go on with my monologue, but I got stuff in the basement. Let us say hello to the many Stallone-related luminaries in the audience. Look, it's Alan Cummings from Get Carter and Armando Asante from Assassins. Hi, fellas. Hey, we are. Wow, these guys are sitting awfully close to each other. Alan is now sitting on Armando's lap, and now they are open-mouthed kissing. All right, it's 2020, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let us say hello to Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed from the Rocky movies. Hi, Carl. High five me, Carl, with your left hand. Wait. Oh, okay. Right hand. Okay, I guess that Happy Gilmore stuff is really true. Look, everyone, it is Burgess Meredith. Mickey! Hello, Mr. Meredith. I got to tell you, Mr. Meredith looks a little pale. Hold on. I have a PA talking to me in my headphones. I've been informed that Mr. Meredith has been dead since 1997. That would explain it.
Oh, wait.
Can someone please pick up his lips and eyelids off the floor? Look how beautiful she looks. It's Talia Shire, Adrian from the Rocky movies. Miss Shire, you look stunning tonight. Well, hashtag me too. Okay, I will move on. It's Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, Thunder Lips, and the devastating Clubber Lang from Rocky 3. You guys have aged a bit since 1982, not quite as imposing. Hulkster, you remember Gru and me? We met you back at WrestleMania 33. What's that, Hulk? You want to welcome us to the Silver Dome? No, we're in Arizona. And Hulk, please do not say anything racist. Mr. T, hello, sir. I know, you pity the fool. And now Mr. T is trying to do a pull-up and struggling. Mr. T, could someone grab his feet and help him? All right, let's move on to the very special VIP section. It is Robert De Niro from Copland and Grudge Match with good friend Harvey Keitel from Copland. Hi, fellas. Bobby D, I am such a big fan. Listen, do you need to borrow a few dollars? I heard your divorce is quite expensive. What was that, Mr. De Niro? Oh, go fuck myself. Okay, let me move on to Mr. Keitel. Mr. Keitel, how are you? What is that? Oh, is Gru available in December for the filming of Little Nicky 2? I will certainly pass that along to him. Oh, and that is your lovely wife, Mrs. Keitel. Oh, hi, Mrs. Keitel. What? Tell Gru to go fuck himself. Oh, okay, well, let's get to these award show. First, let me introduce from our esteemed panel of judges, from the Worst of the Best podcast and the Sylvester Stallone fan podcast, Mr. Ryan Rebalkin. Ryan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well. Wow, that was quite the opening number. This is a fantastic evening, really.
Well, thank you. We are so glad that you could be here and look forward to your picks. And, of course, from the Nothing Worthwhile podcast, my partner in crime, Andrew Gruthius. Gru, excited to be here at the Stallone Awards.
Yeah. Wait, what? Yeah. Oh, yes. Hi. What?
Why do you just bail? We worked hard on this.
Oh, I'm just kidding. Yes, we've been looking forward to this for a while. We've been working very hard on it too.
Wow, your enthusiasm is electric. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. All right, let's get to the awards. Our first award is, do we get to win this time the greatest Stallone adversary or villain? Let's go first to Mr. Ryan Rebalkin. Ryan, do we get to win this time the greatest Stallone adversary or villain in a Stallone movie? The floor is yours.
Okay, I'm really excited to go over these awards and the reasons why we've picked what we've picked. I will do a little disclaimer here for the future picks that we do, at least from my end of things, because anything pre-Rocky is just probably horrible. Okay, so I think it goes without saying that Party at Kitty and Studs would take most of the worst awards right away.
Crap. All right.
Well, no, it's... but I only say that because once Stallone became a star because of Rocky, I think that was a criteria that I used when his career really kind of took off from Rocky. And I will say that I had to do a divide up between the Rocky films and the non-Rocky films for a couple of these categories, not for all of them. Okay, so for example, the greatest adversary that Sylvester Stallone has ever faced on screen, yes, it goes without saying that Drago is probably the greatest adversary he's ever faced on screen. It's Drago himself was almost cartoonishly big. He was over the top. He killed his best friend. I mean, this was an adversary of adversaries for the Rocky character, especially for an 80s movie. It's the one that Dolph Lundgren will be known for the rest of his life. But if you were to go outside of the Rocky franchise, I would say his greatest adversary and his most fun adversary, and the one that he had the most fun playing against, was 1993's Demolition Man, Simon Phoenix. Yeah. So,
wow. Wesley Snipes as Simon Phoenix.
Yeah. And there's been some good ones, and but I would say there's even a third one, but I don't want to overdo it here because Sylvester Stallone has had some really nice co-stars throughout his career. But I think Simon Phoenix is another great over-the-top character that demanded a sequel that we never saw, and maybe one day we will before they get too old, which they already kind of are. But yeah. But anyways, there you go. So I'd say Drago for the Rocky films, absolutely for over-the-top, almost silliness or craziness, and Simon Phoenix from a non-Rocky film.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Gru, those did not come to my head, but Ryan made a lot of sense. Gru, the floor is yours. Do we get to win this time? Your choice for greatest Stallone adversary or villain.
Well, just to disclose, I did put all mine together, so these include the Rocky films. But again, same as Ryan, there is no pre-Rocky thing on any of mine because, I did look at that list and was less than impressed. So, my greatest Stallone, do we get to win this time, adversary and or villain is Sheriff William Teasle, a.k.a. Brian Dennehy in First Blood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Any thoughts?
Yes.
Any thoughts
This is my walk to the stage accepting the award. So, yes, this was... I've watched First Blood so many times, and I thought about a lot of the Rocky villains, but none of them, with the exception of Clubber Lang and Drago, were really villainous. And this was like First Blood was like mano a mano. It was really Rambo versus Teasel, and Brian Dennehy was so good and so he was so evil without even trying to be evil. And I just felt their chemistry throughout, and they went from point A to point B with the relationship. And so, yeah, my pick is, do we get to win this time? Sheriff Teasel from First Blood.
Ryan, what do you think of that choice?
Great choice. Yeah, absolutely. I had a hard time not picking things from the Rambo and Rocky, so I purposely steered away from those, not to take away from your choice, because it's a wonderful choice, and Teasel is one of the greatest characters I've ever put to film. Brian Dennehy knocked it out of the park, and I'm glad you chose it. I'm kind of glad we're picking from different parts of Sly's illustrious career. Absolutely, that is a worthy award. I totally agree with that pick.
Yeah, I mean, and I almost went. Drago was close. I think without Creed 2, Drago might be the pick, but. I feel like Drago kind of redeemed himself a little bit in Creed 2.
That's fair. So, his villainous turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of, I don't know how far off you guys want to go off topic here. You can edit this out, but just to tack on what you're just saying there, they had a missed opportunity in Last Blood to not, before Brian Dennehy's passing, he was still alive during the filming of Last Blood, of not reconciling his character the same way they did with Drago, to have Teasel come back and maybe I wanted Last Blood to end with Rambo going to jail and having Teasdale visit him there and saying, gotcha. Here we are again type thing, and it ends there type thing. He's retired, let's say he's an old guy, but he visits John and Rambo in jail.
I can't argue with that one. Great.
Yeah. That would have been cool. some kind of redemption story, like redeeming the character.
Well, forgiveness, yeah. That even though you see one warrior locked up, truly locked up this time for what he did on the ranch. It's against the law to do what he did, even though it was revenge. He gets put in jail, and Teasel comes and visits him in jail. Says, here we are, but they buried the hatchet. They still buried the hatchet. Their characters.
They're doing like a Netflix sitcom. I think it's going to be, Rambo and Teasel. If they're, it's going to be one of those things.
Let me ask you guys a question. No thoughts about Apollo Creed, greatest adversary. That came to my mind. I didn't pick it. Any thoughts on Apollo? Was he just too much of a nice quality guy? The character.
Well, adversary and/or villain. He was a competitive adversary in the sense they competed in the ring, but Rocky had never had an ill will feeling towards him ever. Only saw him as an opponent in the ring. The same way if you play chess with somebody, you don't have to hate the person or even dislike the person you're playing chess with, but you're playing to win. I mean, Rocky was playing to win or do his best, but he only saw Apollo as a means to meet his own personal best, but it was never about Apollo.
Gru?
Yeah, I can't even add to that. That's my sentiments exactly. And they became really, really great friends. So, he was never, you would never call Apollo a villain. And I really wanted to find somebody for this thing who was really a bad guy and or a bad girl.
For me, I wouldn't say he was possibly the greatest, but I remember really being moved by Donald Sutherland in Lockup as the warden. Any thoughts on that character? I typed some quick notes. I didn't go into detail like you guys did. I just want to throw that to the group. Sutherland's role in Lockup. I remember, man, that guy was one nasty bastard.
Well, I want to save it.
Okay, no worries.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Guru, I know you're a fan. I know you're a fan of that character in Donald Sutherland's portrayal.
Yes, and he was excellent. He might have been a tad over the top, no pun intended, but I think that was good for the movie. But his Donald Sutherland's was pure revenge. He was getting revenge for what Stallone had quote unquote done to him earlier. Teasel is just plain bad. Like he's like he's like xenophobic bad.
Okay, but real quick on your point with Teasel, you didn't see it though. I mano a mano, but he had a whole police force, or at least a couple of spare parts helping him out there. I mean, I never really saw it as.
But it was But it was his war. That's the thing. Teasel could have said, "All right, we're just letting him go. He'll get busted down the road, then we'll deal with it later." But he would not stop, even as his people were getting picked off in the jungle. He wouldn't stop, and that's and Brian Dennehy's performance is just it's a clinic in acting. He's phenomenal.
I think everybody made a great case for their choices. All right. Let's go to the second award. It's the You Blew It, the most memorable co-star in a Stallone film. All right, Andrew Gruthius, your turn here first. Gru, your choice for the You Blew It award, most memorable co-star in a Stallone film.
Sylvester Stallone's most memorable co-star, by far, leaps and bounds, is the great Port Washington living Burt Young. From the Rocky franchise. That is my pick. So let's give a moment to Burt Young. Thank you. Thank you.
Yay, Burt
Accepting
Young.
For Burt Young is me. So, Burt Young, I think, created the best relationship with and best on-screen chemistry throughout. I mean, it's an almost 50-year relationship at this point on screen that keeps evolving. It was almost, I'll give you my second choice. My second choice would have been Talia Shire, but Paulie has kind of, I don't know. Their chemistry and the way they bounce off each other in every movie. Burt Young brings a different kind of anger to his character, and that is my pick as the best co-star for Sylvester Stallone.
Mr. Rebalkin, the floor is yours. The You Blew It award, most memorable co-star in a Stallone film.
I love that title of this award because, of course, that's the memorable line from Copland by Robert De Niro when he's talking to Sheriff Heflin? Sheriff Heflin?
Yes.
The Stallone character, Sheriff Heflin. Yeah,
I will say real quick, I remember on your Copland, you guys kept on referencing the go to lunch, and I remember laughing. Go to lunch.
I love that. Yeah, De Niro really chewed the scenery in Copland. So, and that was a memorable scene about the You Blew It. I love that scene. Again, I stepped outside the Rocky universe on this one. I agree with Burt Young. That's an incredible pick. I mean, Burt Young and Sly as acting partners were incredible throughout that franchise. When we didn't have Paulie for the Creed franchise, he was missed, and that's a sign of good chemistry between the characters and actors. But I'm going to go with somebody who was such a great co-star to Sylvester Stallone that, in fact, that kind of showed you just how charismatic and good of an actor this guy is, and it kind of overshadowed Sly's performance in his own movie, and that was Kurt Russell in Tango and Cash.
Ooh. Wow. Hot take. Hot Stallone take. All right, that didn't come to my mind at all. The floor is yours, Ryan. Let's hear your pitch.
Accepting for Kurt Russell will be the great Canadian Ryan Rebalkin.
First off, I love Kurt Russell, and when he is in the movie, Kurt Russell is just his intensity, his acting, his humor, his blue steeled eyes. He is just his big hair. I love Kurt Russell. His golden years in the Quentin Tarantino films and his Western film. Did you see that Western film he did?
Tombstone?
Bone
Tomahawk. Bone Tomahawk.
Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah, yes. No, I didn't see that. I thought you were talking about Tombstone, which is one of the best Westerns ever made, I think.
Okay, well, you're I'm disappointed for two things. Number one, I'm disappointed you haven't seen Bone Tomahawk. You guys have got to see that film. Seriously. It's an underrated films. Incredible film.
It was like 2 years ago, wasn't it? It's very recent.
It was fairly he had the same mustache for that as he did for the Hateful Eight.
Ah, okay.
That's what he has, both mustaches for those films. Because they were filmed at the same time. that being said, you're also kind of wrong by saying that Tombstone is one of the greatest westerns. It is the greatest.
I mean,
it is the.
For me, it's always been between that and Unforgiven, but I always give the edge to Tombstone.
Unforgiven's incredible, but when it comes down, if both were in front of me and I had to watch one in 4K on my big screen TV, you're going to put in Tombstone.
All right, guys, this is the Stallonies, not the Westernies. All right, let's.
Sorry.
It's not 6 degrees of Sylvester Stallone.
See what I'm not host.
You know what it is? It's that Young Guns. Ryan cannot let it go. It's just that Young Guns.
By the
way, listen to the Bon Jovi podcast. Gru goes, I've never even heard the soundtrack. But then, like Ryan, you talk it up, and I think Gru goes, just amazing array of music.
I never said that. I said Blaze of Glory is a great song.
Something like that.
I never said that.
He Cheap Heat. I love that term, Cheap Heat. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Jerry Lawler.
Let's go back. Hold on. Let's go back to Ryan. Let's go back to his
Kurt Russell was barely trying, I think, sort of in this film. He naturally is this way. He's naturally charismatic. He's naturally very handsome, a good actor, a good comedic actor, a good drama actor, a good yeller. Everything that he does in Tango and Cash, and I love Sly. And this is what makes Kurt Russell so amazing, is you kind of watch someone who's been in the business for a long time since he was a kid. And, everyone's at different levels of acting ability. Kurt Russell just kind of schools Sly a little bit in that film. So no fault of Sly. Maybe it was the writing that he was given. He was given a different type of character. The character, he was Tango. No, he was Cash in that film, right?
No, yeah. Stallone was Tango. Kurt Russell was Cash.
Are you sure?
Yep, 100%.
Oh man, okay. I'm not as
Ray Tango, Gabe Cash.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Wow. Look at that. So anyways, so there you go. I think the best co-star that he's had outside the Rocky franchise is Kurt Russell. And I wish they did more together because they actually had a good chemistry.
I've heard sequel rumblings. I actually have, recently. Yeah. But I want to speak to that just because I also thought of that because he's so great. But see, the way I judged, I made my pick was together. Who they were the best, who was the best. They were the chemistry, and they didn't. To me, I love the movie. It's so bad, it's great. It's one of those to me, and I love it, and I've seen it a million times. But and I know this is not going to be very popular, but Sly's performance is overshadowed by Kurt Russell, and that's why I don't think they made the greatest of co-stars because the chemistry just wasn't there because Sly was still trying to sort of get into that more comedic and lighthearted stuff, and he wasn't quite there. He didn't quite deliver on that one. He tried real hard.
Was Tango and Cash the movie where he called Rambo a pussy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me give a couple of thoughts to everyone to chew on. Burt Young, when you said 50 years, that felt very powerful to me. When you put a time frame on that. Although when I said co-star, I don't know why in my mind I pictured a one-off, meaning Burt Young, Talia Shire, they're in for the long haul or most of the long haul. Just my own thought when we came up with this category, co-star, I felt like it was a one-off to me. I don't have any reason why. Burt Young is phenomenal. When you said 50 years, I said, wow. I mean, that really put some power to it. To get to Ryan's pick, I just feel like it's hurt because I never really thought of Tango and Cash on any kind of level as a quality Stallone movie. Any of your thoughts, guys, on what I just said?
Oh, it's not. I mean, I like it for what it is, but it's not one that I haven't seen as much as Gru has. That's for sure. I haven't.
Yeah, please, that's for sure.
Well, if I had to,
what, we're going to start a free time podcast, and it's just going to be we watch. Anyway, all right.
Speaking to that, if you're talking about a one-off, and we all look at things differently. I think my pick might actually be, and you'll be surprised at this because I thought they were great together. Tom Sizemore from Lock Up. I think they really did have a great rapport in that one. Because most of Stallone movies are Sylvester Stallone in. Tango and Cash, right. to give Ryan a lot of credit here, Tango and Cash is really one of his few Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell in this.
Right.
and it was really a two-hander. So I think his pick is a really good pick.
I am the expert. Let's make that clear.
Well, of course he would never criticize you because that's just what he's.
Hey, we're only getting started. Wait a minute.
All right, well, let me give you. I want to throw just a mild choice that I put down, and so obviously when I thought about this, I thought about De Niro because but I felt like it was too easy of a choice. I have a lot of respect for Copland because I see it as Stallone's real one. Sort of legitimate. I'm going for an Academy kind of style movie, and we could discuss that another time.
What about Grudge Match?
Any thoughts on? Okay, I got the floor now.
All right, relax.
Any thoughts on perhaps? And again, I thought of this: Sandra Bullock, Demolition Man. I felt like they had great chemistry, and the reason why it came to my mind was it kicked off a really phenomenal career for Sandra Bullock. I like Demolition Man. I think it's just a perfect, cheesy, sort of a Stallone comeback to the action genre. I feel I'm definitely not an expert like you two fellas, but I thought Bullock did a great job and kicked off a real massive career. Just any quick thoughts on Sandra Bullock?
Well, yes, I totally agree with that pick regarding Sandra Bullock as a co-star. That's a good hot pick. Actually, it's a female co-star too. And in fact, Demolition Man is Sandra Bullock's greatest performance ever.
Whoa, that's a bold statement right there.
We got to hold on to that for another podcast. That's a real. Are you telling me her career went downhill from there? Sort of, in a sense.
It did for me. She was both the cutest and least annoying in Demolition Man. Ever since then, she has done nothing for me.
Okay.
I thought Rob Schneider was cute and annoying in Demolition Man.
I love Rob Schneider. I love him. Everything he does is hilarious.
Gru, any thoughts on Bullock?
Well, I definitely disagree that was her. That was the apex mountain of her career.
Of course,
she was.
In terms of a Stallone co-star.
No, didn't even come to mind.
Okay.
Bridget Nielsen would be higher on that list as a female.
No,
I'm kidding.
Please.
But no, I didn't even consider that. But there are reasons which I'll save.
It's such self.
He did the same thing. He did the same thing, and you didn't yell at him.
He's got credibility. You have none. All right, let's move on. All right, we are going to the aforementioned for the sort of the worst. We have the honorary The Rebalkin, the most overrated Stallone movie, or maybe the worst of the best, so to speak. So it is the Rebalkin, and actually, Ryan, will go to you. The Rebalkin, most overrated Stallone movie. The floor, my friend, is yours.
This one's tough. Because this is gonna anger a lot of people, but that's what makes it overrated. So overrated, correct me if I'm wrong, is something that is considered by most people an enjoyable film, a fun film, one that's could be easily rewatched and no complaints by the general audience, something that's enjoyed overall by a lot of people. Let's go first to the Rocky franchise, but this is not really that much of a hot take, but it is and it isn't. The most overrated Rocky film, as a side note, is Rocky IV.
Thank you.
Okay. So it's the most overrated. Now,
Agreed.
That's what this award is. That gives you an idea of where I'm going with my pick, okay? Now, is it fun? Is it cheesy? It's all the things we know that Rocky IV is, but when it comes to being overrated, it's overrated. It's not as great as people say it is, if you look at it objectively. So keeping that in mind, the most overrated Sylvester Stallone film, by far, is Cobra.
Ooh.
I know. And... yeah, it's...
Wait. Accepting for Cobra.
Oh.
The host of the Best of the Worst podcast, the great Ryan Rebalkin.
Actually, it's the worst of the best podcast. Leave that faux pas in there.
What did I say?
I will say this. Gru and I pick on Cobra all the time. Ryan, go ahead. Let's hear your thoughts. I love the choice. Let's hear your thoughts on why you picked it.
Because my second pick that was pretty close was actually going to be Over the Top. But Over the Top doesn't try... Listen, but Over the Top doesn't really try to pretend to be something that it's not. It is what it is. It's an arm wrestling movie. It has arm wrestling in it. It has a cast of characters. It's kind of like, okay, it is what it is. But Cobra is almost talked about reverently amongst even Stallone fans, and I watched this film, And Sly's portrayal of this tough guy wearing sunglasses and a toothpick and these tight jeans, and his name is Colberetti, and so
we make
Marion Colberetti.
We pick on that name all the time.
Marion Colberetti.
Yes.
We have this weird, like, satanic axe-wielding cult, and it's filmed really horribly. It's blurry, and it's dark, and it's grungy, and it's all very not well done. It's a not well done film. The film was not put together very well. It isn't. The one great line is, you're the disease, I'm the cure. That's a great line, sure.
Which is on the poster.
That's the one great moment. Is that sequence in the store? I think that's the highlight of the film, and that's your highlight. Maybe the car chase, sure, it's fun, but that's what makes it overrated. It's not. I don't think it's as great as people. I watch or listen to what people say about it. Then you watch the film, I'm like, no, that's not what's happening here. So that's my most overrated film is Cobra.
Okay, well, do I talk now or give my award now, and then we talk about both?
Well, I guess now you might as well talk now. I was going to try to throw it to you and have some kind of format, but I mean, this is ridiculous. We're in a sold-out Comerica Theater in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. 3,500 people in the audience,
and nobody's wearing masks.
You know what, Ryan? Please don't throw your little sly political element into it.
He said sly.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Go ahead. I mean,
it would be like the presenter at the Academies.
Just walk up.
Tom Hanks is
you know what he is? He's Kanye West. He's Kanye West interrupting Taylor Swift or whatever.
Well, then call this a campaign speech. So, I'm surprised because you were going to say that Over the Top is overrated. That's like that. People hate that movie. Like they talk well, you and me don't, but talk about it with anybody, and
it's not a good movie.
I don't think it's overrated at all.
It's not a good movie. Period.
I didn't say that. I just don't.
A lot of the Sly fans that I'm aware of love that film. I
do.
I think maybe well, I don't.
Oh.
But I don't think it's over. I don't think it's overrated. I just if you want to use the word overrated, I think it's unnecessarily highly rated.
Okay.
I just don't think it's. But I think Cobra, the spectrum between quality of film and the level of ratedness is Cobra to me.
Yeah, Cobra is definitely not a well-made movie, but to me, it's still entertaining as hell. I wouldn't have put it.
All right, thank
there.
you, Raji.
And did you know? Can I give a little tidbit of information though? Did you know that the director of Cobra is the same director of Tombstone?
Yeah, George P. Cosmatos.
Yeah, there you go. See? Look at that, Evan.
He's from Victoria, my hometown.
I did not know that.
He was born there, yeah.
Yeah. The late, great George Pan Cosmatos. Directed Rambo 2 as well.
And
this is not some insider podcast.
All right.
George P. Cosmatos, like anyone gives a rat's ass.
Nobody does. He's like a ghost director.
And by the way,
that's true. You're right about that.
If you want to get serious, listen to what Ryan's saying. He makes his choice, though, but he lays out his criteria. He didn't like the way the film was shot. He didn't like the performance.
And that's why I pointed out the director. It makes
okay, but can you give us your choice for the Rebalkan?
Okay, my choice for the Rebalkan. As we know, the Rebalkan is the most overrated Sylvester Stallone movie ever, and this one was easy for me. You guys will be very angry with me, but I'm going to say it anyway. It is called Demolition Man.
Get off the stage. You're
accepting for Demolition Man is me.
Boo.
So Demolition Man, I remember seeing this on opening day. I was so excited because it was finally like a Stallone movie that got really good reviews. It really did. And Stallone, Wesley Snipes was red hot at the time, coming off like Major League and I think the first Blade. So it was a huge pairing. And I remember just walking out really disappointed. It just didn't. I don't know. There was something about it that just... And Stallone gave a great performance. I have to give him that. He was good. Like if he was as good, like with his comedic timing in that movie was much better than it was in like Tango and Cash or any comedy he had done at that point. But the movie itself is probably a well-made movie, but I just didn't like it. And it's very difficult for me to understand why. I've seen it twice, and I felt the same way the second time. And I know people love it, and that's why to me it's his most overrated movie.
I felt like Demolition Man was a very solid return to action. It's not, like we say, it's not Shakespeare, but I thought Wesley Snipes made it. Bullock, Rob Schneider. I thought there was some cleverness to the movie. Taco Bell, the seashells. I like the sort of sci-fi connection with the cryogenic freezing of the characters and future. I agree with you. I mean, it's not the best, but it was. I remember at that point watching it being like Stallone's back in terms of action. That's where I stand with Demolition Man. Ryan, the floor is yours.
I could see why you would pick that. It doesn't surprise me, but I understand your picks, your reasons. They're sound. It's not one that I go to. It's not a movie that I go to the well very often with. It doesn't age very well. It hasn't aged very well. Through no fault of its own because of special effects. I think had they made that movie with today's special effects, with the actors being the same age they are then now, it would have been an interesting film. I think they could have really done a lot of fun stuff with that film. Unfortunately, it was just made at a time when it just doesn't age very well. Like a film like First Blood, it's ageless because there's no special effects required, right? It's just you're filming in the woods. That's why movies like Westerns are great. Sort of go off topic because they don't age. They don't have to.
Yeah, they were dated when they came out. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, there are some movies in Sly's career, and we'll get to one of them, where the technology during the filming really hampers the aging process. And so Demolition Man, when it came out, it was fun. It was pretty solid for special effects. Overrated? I think it's fairly rated amongst most critics and fans. So it is an interesting take. But yeah, one I don't agree with. But yeah.
Okay. I think, Ryan, you talked early on. For me, it's Rocky IV. I've never liked Rocky IV. As I said before, I stood up and cheered when Rocky wins, but I didn't. I knew watching it. I did pick a second thing. I'm going to throw it out there. I know I'm going to get crushed, but I wanted to do it anyway to hear. I happened. I won't put it. I'm almost nervous to admit this, but. I feel like, for me, also Rambo 2. Because I felt like First Blood was a real legitimate story. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Rambo 2 is sort of that picture 80s excessive action movie. The very over-the-top characters, the foreigners, the Russian, the shooting with all the casings on the floor. I felt like, even when I saw it, I enjoy it. I love the deaths and all the action, but I felt like writing-wise, it's just same thing as Rocky IV. It takes a very sort of broad nationalistic topic, and it's just very somewhat lazy writing, and that's where I stand on it. I just want to throw it out there.
That's fair. I've always said First Blood is Rocky 1, First Blood Part 2 is Rocky 4, and Rambo 3 is Rocky 5.
Okay, thank you. All right, so there's some legitimacy to what I thought about that film.
It's fair. It's fair.
Okay.
It's yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say every argument I hear regarding Rocky IV, the negative part of it, I always agree. They're right. The robot is silly. The montages, there's too many. The thin storyline, you bet. And then the arguments for it, totally agree. The great soundtrack, fun montage scenes when he's training, yelling Drago on top of the mountain, the over-the-top Nemesis and Drago. It's one of those crazy films where it's just as infuriating as it is fun.
And see, that's why, Gru, I don't put Creed 2 at the same level as Creed, because I felt like it was lazy. They took a storyline, and I did it good. I've said it before. I enjoyed Creed 2. But comparative to Creed, which I thought was really, for the most part, really original and created almost a separate universe within the Rocky lore, Creed 2, it took something that was there, and again, it's like bringing back the Ultimate War. It just took something, and they did it well. I enjoyed it, and they fleshed out the characters a lot more. But then that's for another time. But Rocky 4, Rambo 2, I just felt like it was kind of lazy.
I agree. I agree with everything you say. You know my feelings about Rocky IV. I don't consider it really a Rocky movie because it's not made that way. But Creed 2, you're right. by sort of them taking a previous story and sort of continuing it. But I got to tell you, what I loved most about Creed 2 is that I was fascinated by the character of Drago, and I didn't think that was possible. Like I don't think it's a better movie than the first Creed, but I do love it, and I do think it lends it gives Rocky IV just a little bit more validity than Rocky IV had before.
That I agree with.
And that's as far as I'll go on that.
Oh, sorry.
What'd you say, Ryan?
I was going to say. I think that's why we're getting a director's cut of Rocky IV. I think that's part of the reason. I think Stallone wants to legitimize and flesh out the Rocky. He knows everything we're saying about the film. He knows.
Yeah,
he's aware of the silliness part of it. So I think there is a cut, and there's footage that he's going to put in that will make Creed 2 and Rocky 4 more about. You can almost see that coming out as a box set. Those two films together.
Companion pieces.
That'd be fun. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, fellas, let's move on. We're going to go to Andrew Gruthius first for The Eye of the Tiger. I'm very interested to hear everyone's thoughts on this, and I have some myself. Gru will be presenting first for The Eye of the Tiger, the most underrated Stallone movie. Andrew Gruthius,
the
floor is yours.
My pick for the most underrated Stallone movie. It was very close, almost a tie. I actually made a list of pros and cons, and it was almost a tie. But I have to give the edge to a movie called Lockup. And accepting for Lockup is me. Lockup, when I first saw it, I didn't think I was going to get anything from it. The reviews weren't good. But you know what? I was always a huge Sly fan, so I was going, and I remember walking out of that movie like, wow, that's one of the best action movies I've seen in a long time. And it was so exciting. It was a great character surrounded by great character actors, which made it even better. Tom Sizemore, Donald Sutherland, John Amos, and it was well made, well directed. The music was great, and Sylvester Stallone was great, and the story itself preposterous, but it didn't matter because you really fell in love with all the characters, and you were sort of all in it with them, and they allowed Stallone to share the screen with these people and talk with them instead of just nonstop shoot 'em up action. And so by the time you get to the ending, which is sort of an anticlimactic ending if you think about it, it still works because they've sort of built everything to where no matter what happened at the end, you were going to walk away satisfied, and you do. Lockup does not get enough respect, in my opinion, and I'll just, without saying anything about it, I'll give you the choice that was almost there, and that was Over the Top. I'm a big Over the Top fan, which you know.
Garbage.
You've heard me talk about that.
That's garbage. So I'll give you Lockup. Over the Top, absolutely not. But let's throw it to Ryan. Ryan, let me get your thoughts first on Andrew's choice, and then let's hear your pick for The Eye of the Tiger, the most underrated Sylvester Stallone movie.
Well, before I give my thoughts about Andrew's pick, I'll just have to give my pick.
Go ahead.
Lockup.
Wow! Wow! Virtual high five on that one.
Yeah. So I have to give my pick to discuss Andrew's reasons because I totally agree with everything he said. I'll just add a little bit to that. It's not only the most underrated Sylvester Stallone film; it's criminally underrated. Mm-hmm. It is. It's amazing how little this film is discussed. It even has a score by Bill Conti, of all people. Stallone is acting is incredible in it. He's got a great co-star in Donald Sutherland, like we talked about. Who doesn't like good prison drama? Prison dramas, they're great films. And the side characters in this film, this is where Stallone surrounded himself with good actors as side characters that did not overshadow Sylvester Stallone's presence, but they were great supporting characters. The problem with Copland, and I talked about this on my review on our show, was unfortunately Sly did an incredible job, and we'll maybe talk more about that later, but so did everyone else. Yeah. So did Ray Liotta. Are you kidding me? Even Michael Rappaport did a great job. I mean, that film, everyone brought their A game to that film.
Can I ask a quick question? Do you consider Copland a Stallone movie, or because of the full cast that it's Stallone in a movie?
That's a good argument, and unfortunately, I think that was Stallone's demise of not getting the award. It was an ensemble piece. It's like saying, who's the best actor in Game of Thrones? Which one do you pick? They're all good. They're all doing well, or whatever. Sopranos, even if you take away Tony Soprano, there's so many side characters that are all doing an incredible job. And who do you pick?
Even like Robert Patrick was great in that movie.
Yes, they were all good. They were all good. Even Peter Berg.
Yes.
Harvey Keitel.
Annabella Sciorra.
So that being said, this movie is criminally underrated. I love it. It touches the heart. It does everything. Like you're saying, it has I hate the term action, but it has intense scenes of violence. It has drama. It has good character development. It has characters that you lose through death. You mourn. And has there ever been a film, and will there ever be a film, where you cry because a car is getting destroyed?
Maybelline.
I'm telling you, man,
remember the way the music came in at that point? Yeah.
Because we know the car would have. We're not mourning a destroyed Mustang, but what we're mourning is what
the
these
work
guys,
that they did.
There's this incredible montage of putting this car together, the ability, and the pretend drive they went on with that young inmate, and it just all goes to crap when of course the terrible warden destroys the car in front of everyone after they built it. It's showing that no matter what they do in this prison, they will never find happiness. And there's a lot going on in that film, and it's criminally underrated, and it's aged well because it's a prison drama. It doesn't require CGI or anything. It's a prison drama that takes place in the late '80s, and it fits just as well today in 2020, I think.
Yeah, and his character was not a violent character. Like, I thought the movie was going to be about a prison escape. He wasn't trying to escape. He only tried to escape when he was pushed over the line, but he was just trying to serve his time. And the movie has a lot of guts.
We have seen this so many times with the reluctant action hero who's pushed into violence. We've seen that, and we saw that plenty of times before Lockup. Lockup is a better Stallone movie. And I love your everyone's reasoning behind it, but to sit there and say, well, he wasn't violent, and we've seen it a million times. Rambo. I mean, all these guys were reluctant.
Well, Rambo was a trained killer, though. That's the thing.
Okay, you know what I mean, Andy. Stop,
I do.
Getting into minutia. I'm talking about. You knew that.
I can't. I'm not allowed to disagree with him ever.
I didn't say. I'm just telling you that to sit there and quantify the role because he's a reluctant. We've seen it not even a million Stallone and.
Well, what I meant was it wasn't what it surprised me. It wasn't. I thought it was going to be exactly that. He gets thrown in jail and he's making his way out. That's what the movie was supposed to be about. I was so surprised that it's actually more like Ryan said. Use the term. It's a prison. It's more of a prison drama than a balls to the wall action movie, which was what I was expecting. And so it surprised the hell out of me, and that's why, it's as high up as it is, because it took a lot of guts, I thought.
Balls.
And it was a box office bomb. It really did tank, which is
I like to put out. I didn't even put notes to the movie. I'm curious, and I don't know if you guys. Again, I'm so nervous because you guys are huge Stallone fans, and I don't know if in a sense it's underrated or perhaps undervalued in the Stallone lore, but I'm going to give you just a quick reason why. On my notes, I put Rocky 3. Now, I'm going to tell you why, and then I just want to hear your thoughts real quick before we get to our In Memoriam segment. But Rocky 3, and again, maybe I'm wrong, and please correct me when it's your time, but it's almost seen as the turn down in the Rocky franchise. I would say critically, Stallone's really into his looks. He's 2% body fat. Everything is he's running with shirt, no hair. He's got Apollo Creed. It's However, I actually loved the story. I love the sort of surprise with Mickey dying. I love the whole notion of getting rich, getting famous, and losing that sort of that edge, that perhaps the struggle to get there. And I love the whole thing about Mickey perhaps protecting Rocky the whole time and him coming to terms with it, that Mickey loved him. And the notion of you wake up every day thinking you're a winner, and then you hear just one thing, and maybe you're not a winner. And and maybe that's when you listen to or critically that they get a lot of derision over that. But I thought it was really, really great. And maybe I've said too much, but I just want to hear your thoughts on.
If I can respond, I think you're right in a lot of ways. As a Rocky movie, I think to me, the only way Rocky 3 is overrated is when people say it's better than Rockies 1, 2, and I would say 6.
I don't know if overrated's the right word, but I definitely struggled with that too, because I don't know if it's overrated, but I know that it's seen perhaps negatively in the Rocky lore, and so
I
bought it and loved it from the opening scene with Paulie, with the video game, and I loved everything.
Yeah, but like I said, to me, in the only sense that it's overrated is when it's being compared to the other Rocky movies. And if casual fans you ask, "What's your favorite Rocky movie?" they'll usually say either 3 or 4, and the three of us in this room, know that it's not even close. Right. So I do agree with you as that, but as a movie on its own, it's a great movie. I really think it is.
Yeah, but Evan, you're saying that it's underrated.
That's right? I guess. I knew you guys were presenting, so I just didn't even type notes. I just typed the movie name, and when I thought about it, Rocky 3 came to my mind, and I was always I'm very big on that movie and the twists, and
no, you're right.
The themes are really easy for even a guy like me to kind of grab onto, and I don't know. I
think it's fair. I think you're so with the category of underrated. I think it's a fair reasoning. In the discussion of the Rocky franchise, often people say, Rocky 5 is the worst, Rocky 1 or 4 is the best, Rocky 6 was a comeback from Rocky 5, and Rocky 3 never seems to have a discussion, right? But I would argue it's more of the forgotten film, or some of the nuances are forgotten because it's so overshadowed by the Thunderlips fight and Mickey's death or whatever. But there's a lot or Clever Lang's, the pain and I Pity the Fool. So sometimes things get lost that are really great about that film. But I would say the most underrated Rocky film is actually Part 2. I think because Rocky 3 does have so much going on, it's often. It's tough because I feel like both 2 and 3 are either underrated or overlooked. You can almost say both of those. They're very rarely discussed in a way that's very few people are arguing about those films. They're not polarizing films. People will have different feelings on them. Some people think Rocky 3 jumped the shark a little bit from Rocky 2. But for the most part, I like your reasoning, though. I get it, but I've never heard it spoken that way before. But I like hearing a perspective outside of the nerdom that maybe I'm a part of, so that's good.
I have a question for Ryan, and actually both of you. Do you think that Rocky Balboa could exist and be just as effective if it was a direct sequel to Rocky 2 and 3, 4, and 5 never existed?
Well, Sly himself said that Rocky 1 and then Rocky Balboa, is a direct sequel to Rocky 1 that you don't even need to. We don't need to know that he ever won the championship. It's irrelevant.
That's a good point.
They're just bookends to someone's career, that he went the distance as a 30-year-old and then he went the distance again as a 59-year-old. That's it. Sly never. It was his intention with the Rocky Balboa movie to actually have a direct sequel to Rocky 1, and that was Rocky Balboa. It doesn't get rid of all the events, of course. It's almost like you can watch Rocky 1 and they get him and Adrian, I love you, and then you could cut 30 years later, and then you see the picture of Adrian on the desk, and it's like, oh, she's passed. Oh boy, what's happened to this guy? It works as a really great direct sequel to Rocky 1.
I agree.
I'm very glad that they didn't sort of retcon, which a lot of franchises do, which I buy into it as well if I'm super into it, how the Terminator Dark Fate. But I will say Rocky Balboa is a very, very wonderful, enjoyable film. Almost feels it has like an independent movie feel to it. Mm-hmm. It's smaller. It works for the the time of Stallone's career. Things are starting to kind of calm down, and I thought it was just an absolute wonderful film. Yes, it could work as a bookend, but when I watched it, I kept the whole kind of universe in mind.
Yes, you did.
And it was sort of a wonderful way to close. Really wonderful movie, and when I went to see it back in the day, it really super shocked me how much I really enjoyed Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I agreed.
All right, Andrew, let's turn down the lights. This is very solemn, very sincere. We are now going to go to our in memoriam segment for here at the Stallonies.
So tonight we pay tribute to those beloved characters that we've lost over the years.
I don't want to change, man. I like who I am. But you can't change what you really are. And you can forget all this money and stuff you got all around you, man, because it don't change a thing.
Quicker and easier. Yes, quick and easy is how you make a cake, or clean a toilet bowl, or shop by mail. But quick and easy is not how you run a multi-million-dollar business such as ours.
Damn hard day, isn't it? Tell me something. How did you know? I mean, who the hell told you?
You must be very proud. If you will come... Oh, no, you take me! What is it? What is happening?
Life.
Rambo, you're not expendable.
You don't seem to want to accept the fact that you're dealing with an expert in guerrilla warfare. With a man who's the best. With guns, with knives, with his bare hands. A man who's been trained to ignore pain, ignore weather, to live off the land, to eat things that'll make a billy goat puke. In Vietnam, his job was to dispose of enemy personnel, to kill, period. Win by attrition.
Yeah, come on! Wanna hit on me? Come on! I'll break both your arms so they don't work for you. That's right, I'm not good enough to meet with Gazzo. Ooh, that's what I think of Gazzo. Now you're a big shot fighter on the way up. You don't even throw a crumb to your friend Paulie.
You were a champion, and you did what you were expected to do. And you did what I and everybody else thought you should do. And you want to tell me that those fights weren't real? That you were carried? Well, I don't believe it!
For God's sake, why don't you stand up and fight this guy hard like you done before? That was beautiful. But don't lay down in front of him like this. Get up, you son of a bitch. Because Mickey loves you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sylvester Stallone.
More fights in paradise. They tell me that the sun shines all night, and maybe I'm crazy believing that stuff. But if this is it, well, it's not enough. I'm too close to paradise and too close to hell, and sometimes the difference is too hard to tell. Now you can come with me, or I'll go alone. But I'm too close to ever go home again. I'm one step closer now. My heart's growing cold, but I'll fall back in love again, or so I've been told. Come along with me, or I'll
Oh, thank you, Sylvester Stallone.
Wow.
Thank you very much. Wow, Sly on stage.
How did we get him?
I don't know.
God, that was a surprise. Thank you. Thank you,
Frank
Evan.
Stallone. Frank Stallone wasn't available.
Yeah, I would have rather have Frank, but
or John
like Take
Parr.
Me Back or something.
Was it John Parr?
No,
was he the one who sang "Hearts on Fire"?
No, that was John Cafferty.
Oh, John Cafferty.
And the Beaver Brown Band. Don't forget them. That's like saying Bruce without the E Street Band. Come on.
Well, speaking of "Hearts on Fire," similar to was that Rocky 4?
Yes.
Or Rocky 3? Hearts on Fire.
4.
Rocky 4.
Yeah.
Well, we Andrew Gruthius, in all seriousness, shared his personal weight loss journey. We do have a motivated by the Rocky film franchise. Everybody,
Yes.
Andrew Gruthius has shared with us his personal weight loss journey, shot like an inspiring Rocky workout montage. Gruthius has shared with us the footage. So, if you please take a look at your monitors, let's take a look.
Will the people at home be able to see this, or just the people in the audience?
I'm going to describe. It's theater of the mind. Please don't interrupt me. Thank you. He's unfreaking believable. Just like him, I work hard on this, and he just craps all over it. All right, let us take a look at your monitors. I'm going to describe for our podcast audience Gru's inspiring Rocky workout montage. All right, there's Gru. He's waking up. Okay, it's 11 a.m., a little late for a motivational training, but okay. All right, he gets up, a little stretch, and there's 1 can, 2 can, 3 cans of Coca-Cola later. He's outside. He's ready to start training. He's outside in the hot South Florida sun wearing oversized stretch and stained sweatpants. Oh, look, there he is, and he's off running through the streets of South Florida. Oh, look at that, just like Rocky. He waves to the crew outside of his local Publix. Oh, wait, a Middle Eastern Uber driver just gave him the finger. Okay, listen, you got to run on the side. Oh, look, he's picking up the pace. He's running. Oh, now he's hunched over wheezing. Now he's laying flat down on the floor. Damn it, will somebody call an ambulance? And now he's smoking a Marlboro Red. Thank you, Gru. Thank you for sharing with us your motivational workout journey.
Thank you.
All right, let's get to
I have to say, hold on. I have to say that, yeah, thank you all. I really appreciate that.
All right.
It's been a very, very tough road, but I was working with Richard Simmons, and he really got me to where I needed to be. So
let's we had it. It was great. It went with the way we did it, and let's move on. But thank you very much for sharing with us your personal weight loss journey, Rocky montage style.
Very short.
All right, let's get back to it. Let's go to. We started off with Ryan. Let's go to Gru first. Gru, we'd like for you to present your stop, or I might shoot, the worst Stallone acting performance. Andrew, the floor is yours for Stop or I Might Shoot, worst Stallone acting performance.
My pick for the worst Sylvester Stallone acting performance is... Some of you are not going to... Actually, Ryan might like this. Okay? It is Rocky 5. Yes, Rocky 5.
Interesting pick.
Thank you.
Let's hear your.
I'll be accepting the award for Rocky 5. Now in Rocky 5, the reason it's very simple. I believe that he phoned it in. First, by choosing not to direct, and second, I think he made Rocky into a caricature. He was going way, and I know we keep using the phrase "over the top." Well, he did it again because he's really playing up the brain damage, but but at the same time he's trying to be the Rocky from the first one, and I want to say he's trying too hard, but I don't think he's trying enough. I think he thought that if he would overdo it, that would sell the idea of the brain damage and combined with the old Rocky, and it just didn't work. The fact that the script was not good either didn't help, but he lost the character. The character was nowhere present in the performance, and I hate to say it, but that's my pick. Worst performance by Sylvester Stallone is in Rocky 5.
Interesting. I will send it over to Mr. Ryan Rebalkin. Ryan, you can certainly give your thoughts on Gru's pick, and let's hear your choice for the Stop or I Might Shoot award for worst Stallone acting performance.
Those are actually very, very solid points there, Andrew. And it was actually my first pick as far as it was the one that came to my head first, definitely inside the Rocky franchise. And the reason why it's not my pick, but the reason why it's such a valid pick is because I try to grade this on what is expected and what do we get. And with the Rocky character, we expect better from Sly. We've seen better for the first 4 films. You can like or not like certain films. Like let's say Part 4 has different feelings on the matter, but no one ever says that Sly's performance of Rocky is crap.
Right.
I've never heard that. They might say it's too many montages or too quick or not enough storyline, but no one says that Sly playing Rocky is horrible. But for something to happen, we understand that Sly was trying to portray brain damage. And I guess in his mind, at the age of how old was he then? 44 or whatever he was then, that he assumed brain damage was mental handicap behavior. And maybe it is, but the argument is it's still done poorly. And what we expect and what we got was such a huge difference that the Rocky V portrayal of Rocky it's embarrassing. It's a character. It is a caricature of the Rocky character. It's like somebody impersonating Rocky poorly.
That's a great point.
So I agree with that pick totally, and I think you won't get any cheap heat with that one. That's a good pick. I went a little bit of a different route with the same criteria outside the Rocky franchise. With what did we see on screen? Like what should we have expected on screen? Again, this is a movie, a product of its time. It was made when special effects weren't that great, though the set pieces of this film were quite good, and they took it seriously. And we've seen Stallone do a good, angry, menacing type of performance with the Rambo character, for example, or just him as the Rocky character.
I believe I know where you're going to go with this.
Okay.
I think so too.
So that being said, what we saw on screen was this is a character that in the comics is a very mean, angry, brutal character, and the casting of Sly to play Judge Dredd is great casting. It's a great casting choice, but the performance that Sylvester Stallone decided to take as a snarling judge, jury, executioner was horribly executed, and it was embarrassing. The trailers alone showed you this was going to be an embarrassing performance by Sylvester Stallone. So, I am the law. I mean, he could have done. We know that he could have done better. I don't know if he's just phoning it in. If he thought it was a hammy project, what could have been a great fun project, and what he could have, he should have performed with a snarly best. He was grittier, meaner as in Demolition Man shortly before than he was in Judge Dredd. So I don't know where that went. I don't know what the direction choice was. Maybe he was told to be that way. But his dial-in performance of a character that should have been angry, brutal, and mean really left me wanting. It's a horrible film in general. It's one that I don't go back to at all. But it doesn't make for my worst pick because there's things about it, the other movie we'll get to. However, his performance in this film, what could have saved the film had he done a better performance, the film wouldn't be so scourged as it is today. That's my pick for worst acting performance.
Yeah, they even make fun of his acting in the movie when Schneider goes, "I am the law." They make fun of themselves. I guess they knew that they had a stinker.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. The outfit alone should have been oof.
Yeah.
Anyways, what do you think of that pick there, Evan?
Well, listening to both your picks, you both laid out your cases for it. Where I stand on Rocky V is I give it a little bit begrudging respect because they tried something different. It failed, but when I watched it, I was excited in terms of the trailer, the Don King lookalike, the brain damage storyline. I hated the whole Paulie with the trustee, and they just lost his money. Like, I just felt like that wasn't legit because even a quote-unquote dumb athlete like Rocky would have somebody with some protections. And then, he sort of goes back and right away the jacket and the top hat, and she's wearing the rimmed glasses. Like, that didn't really ring true to me. But I will give it some respect that they tried something different. Even some hip-hop song, they tried to kind of bring it a little bit more into the modern era. It failed, and I've said this to Gru. I give it some credit that they tried something different, and perhaps if mined differently. I believe Richard Donner did he not direct?
No, John Avildsen, the guy who
Oh,
directed
he was
the first one.
He was the first Rocky director, right?
Yeah.
So they tried, it failed, and so I give it a little bit begrudging credit. Judge Dredd, it's not good. I don't remember savaging it quite. I kind of put it. It's not Demolition Man. But I know it's gotten a lot of criticism. But I remember going to see it and liking it enough. I suppose I knew it wasn't great. But I did think, like you said, Stallone was a good choice for that character. I was not a fan of Judge Dredd or didn't read the comics, so I didn't know too much about it. I guess for me, I was looking I put obviously Stop or I Might Shoot. I was thinking in terms of that era. I wrote Rhinestone was a real dog performance for me. It's something I can't even watch. I don't know if you guys thoughts about that whole Rhinestone, Stop or I Might Shoot kind of era of Stallone.
I think with Stop or I Might Shoot, that would have almost been easy. There's some really bad moments in that film, but I also added up to Sly wasn't that bad in
yes. It. I do think he's a decent comedic actor, actually, because I think the other one, Gru, what was the one with the Italian gangster?
Oscar. And I thought he was hilarious in that.
I liked Oscar.
I like Oscar a lot.
I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah.
So I think Stallone has some comedic acting chops, so I do agree with that.
Yeah. Well, he's a funny guy in real life. He's got a good sense of humor, but that's what I'm getting at with the Judge Dredd pick is with Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. It was a comedy film, a comedic film.
Right.
Did all the jokes land? No. Was there some terrible moments in the film? Absolutely, like him wearing the diaper sequence. Like there's
Come on,
parts
that was
in the
hot,
film
man.
Yeah, there's parts in the film that are terrible. But at least he's doing comedy. At least that's what we went there. But with Judge Dredd, we have a guy, his character is Judge, Jury, Executioner. He is a badass. And he's supposed to scare people, supposed to scare criminals. He's supposed to be no mercy. He's almost like a human Terminator. And we just got... we got Sly impersonating a badass, and it was just anyways, yeah.
I mean, again, and Gru's mentioned this, would you consider it such a broad, kind of over-the-top performance? It's almost comical?
But they shouldn't have gone that route. And
Okay.
That's the problem.
So it was a bad choice, and not very well executed. But going back to Rocky V, to me it was the only time where I've seen him, and I look at him and I'm like, he's being lazy here with his choices. Like he's not challenging himself. And Ryan and I and Evan and I, we've all talked about it. There's some great stuff in Rocky V.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to find, but it's there. There's a good movie in there.
There is a lot of good movie in there.
But everything always with every Rocky movie hangs on the performance of Stallone as Rocky. So it crumbles under that because I think he just didn't try hard enough.
Yeah, it's almost like he never really commits to that whole sort of brain injury storyline. It's like comes and goes when it works in sort of the plot of the film. When they start off and he's in the locker room in Russia, I was like, "Ooh, this is going to be good." Like they're going to take it, and obviously the execution on it was very, very poor. And I think you guys laid out great reasons why you had your picks.
Thank you.
All right. Let's get to it. We'll go to Ryan first for our next award, the This Is Expendable Award for Worst Stallone Movie. We're going to lay it on the line here. We'll go to Ryan first, and then afterwards we're going to be treated to a live performance of Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. But before we get to that, Ryan, This Is Expendable, your choice for Worst Stallone Movie.
Yeah, this one was hard. I used the criteria of kind of maybe what to expect. What could we have, and what did we get? With Judge Dredd, I kind of expected what we got, so it wasn't. I didn't walk away disappointed. I knew it was going to be a little bit silly, a little bit hammy, but I just thought his acting in that was not very well done. Interesting enough, in my pick for worst Stallone movie, his acting wasn't that bad. However, the movie itself, its direction, its writing, the cast of characters it was just a mishmash of confusing characters, underdeveloped storylines. I was confused a lot of the way through this. You can check out our review on our podcast feed regarding this film. We talk about all these points. That is the movie Driven. Driven is an embarrassing film. It is absolutely. It's one of his last films in the early 2000s to make it to the theater. There were other direct-to-video ones that are almost just as bad. But, for example, I almost picked Avenging Angelo for worst acting and or worst picture of Sly. But honestly, I don't know if you've seen Avenging Angelo or it's been a while. This is a movie.
Wasn't that one of his first direct-to-video ones? Yeah. Anthony Quinn, right?
Yeah, Anthony Quinn's in it. Madeline Stowe. Mm-hmm. Oh, she's gorgeous in that film, and that's why I could never. She is like seriously, Madeline Stowe in Avenging Angelo is just absolute treasure to look at, and she's great in it. So, and Sly himself is not bad in that film. It's just poorly directed, poorly written. But Driven was a major motion picture with a huge cast. And it's more recent than Days of Thunder, but it looks horrible. It's a horrible racing film. They don't even do the driving sequences very well. It's just everything about it is terrible. It's absolutely a terrible film. Except for Sly himself doesn't do a bad job acting in it, but his lines are terrible. The story that he finds himself in is a horrible film. I think it's his worst it's his worst major release in the film that he's ever done.
Yeah, I think I don't know what did that. What came out first, that or Get Carter?
Get Carter was 2000.
All right,
Get Carter was first.
Yeah, so then Driven. Yeah, Driven was like his last one in the movie theater until I think Rocky Balboa.
Correct. Yeah.
That's a very interesting pick. I've never seen it.
Driven?
I've never seen it.
You have to, just so you can experience the pain.
Oh, well, you know what? I do like pain, so I will see it. So my pick now?
Go ahead. I tried to interject, but you, again,
Well, you wanted commentary.
I understand. I'm trying to, we're trying to, have a nuance here. But, all right, Andrew, I'll try again. Interesting pick, Ryan. Gru, the floor is yours. The This Is Expendable Award, worst Stallone movie.
This one was easy. The worst Sylvester Stallone movie ever made is a more recent movie entitled Grudge Match. Look at Ryan. Ryan, he's upset. He's upset.
I'm not upset. I want to hear your reasons. Go ahead.
Talk about what could have been as opposed to what was.
He's stealing mine. Did you have these reasons before you heard my?
No, I mean yes, 100%. I said this was the easiest one for me. I walked out of that movie so angry because you have and Evan and I have discussed this about other movies about squandering opportunities. You have Sylvester Stallone and Robert De Niro. You have Rocky and Raging Bull, and the best you can do is that. I mean, it was supposed to be a comedy. It wasn't funny. It was supposed to be a boxing movie. The boxing was just absolutely ridiculous. Not that we might have expected it to be, but you have the tools to make something really special. And talk about phoning it in. The performances, it's almost like they know that Stallone and De Niro are not going to deliver much, so they're focusing on Kevin Hart, and Kim Basinger was in it, but who would remember that? It was just so poorly done, and I hate it when people squander opportunities. The advertising campaign was 10 times better than the movie. It was a great, remember the posters were like advertising a boxing match? They almost steal that from the Rocky 2 ads. I was so excited to see that. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I just expected what couldn't be delivered. But I remember I've only seen it once, and once is more than enough for that.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple of questions, because I want to break down your choice.
Okay.
And I know this is maybe a dumb question. You had very high expectations for Grudge Match?
Yes, because they have Stallone and De Niro in about two boxers,
Okay, but you had really high expectations at that point in their careers. They're well into their 60s, maybe mid to late 60s.
It's not them I had the expectations of.
But answer my question.
It's the filmmakers.
You don't think it had a feeling of, like, just even when we talk about wrestling, a rematch that's 12 years later, that we knew that, it's going off name recognition, but we knew that they really couldn't pull it off in the ring. Like, I felt like there was some laughs in Grudge Match. I mean, it was pretty much a fair introduction of Kevin Hart. I thought the scene, again, where they're doing the video game and they got the lights, I got some laughs out of that. I don't disagree. I definitely left feeling disappointed, but I felt like they're in their 60s, maybe close to 70. How much could we? Yeah, how much could they pull it off?
Well,
per se, even with the boxing, I was like, it's got to be kind of hammy.
Well, what I was hoping it would be was a comedy about two aging boxers. It didn't even need to get them in the ring. I wanted the story. I wanted the chemistry. That's what I was hoping for. When you have these two icons, and it's almost like I compare it a little bit to Escape Plan, because they didn't do nearly enough with pairing Stallone and Schwarzenegger in a movie that's not a big ensemble piece. It was okay, but they didn't do nearly enough. Here, they could have put anybody in those roles and it would have been the same. But you have the two most iconic boxing character actors ever, and what they come up with is just trash. And that's why I wouldn't say it's the worst movie he's ever done. It's my least favorite.
No, and I agree. I think you put out your points. Let me toss it to Ryan, because I'm curious to hear Ryan's thoughts on Grudge Match.
He was giving me a look.
No.
Let him speak.
That was a real reaction, and I was just sort of a little bit of a grief there, saying that you're taking my reasoning of what you expect and what you got. Watch Driven.
Okay.
I'm not even joking. I would be amazed if you'd rather watch Driven than Grudge Match on any given day if those two were presented to you. However, I understand your reasoning. I think when I went into this film, I didn't think it was going to be as funny as maybe you thought it was going to be. And that might have been your expectation, maybe hurting your experience. I knew it was going to be lighthearted. In a kind of a meta film. I went in fully expecting it to be meta, and it's so meta that it's almost distracting. They both draw from their own careers as aging stars, as boxing characters in their own right. There's like little references to the Rocky franchise within the film, so it's like, what's going on here? Why is he acknowledging a Rocky movie when so I guess the Rocky movies exist in this world type thing, but the guy who plays this character looks like Rocky, I guess. We had that weird moment. But that being said, I think it was just fun enough and innocent enough that it didn't bother me. I can see how it would upset people. I get why it didn't do well, but I think at the end of the day, it was a well-made film. It was not put together haphazardly. There were some good moments between the Punisher and Robert De Niro character. I forget his name, Joe Barenthal or something like that.
I forgot.
Yeah, Barenthal, yeah.
Barenthal. He was great in it. Speaking of early introductions, so this was pre Walking Dead, and or at least I think it was close to it around the time The Walking Dead he left the show there. So it was good to see him on the screen, and Kevin Hart. When I saw this film, I didn't know who Kevin Hart was.
Right, me too.
Yeah. So I think there's enough fun to be had with this film. And that it was light. It wasn't knee-slapping funny, but I knew it wasn't going to be that. So I walked out thinking, it was lighthearted. It was a family drama, the same way that the movie Parenthood, is a comedy, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think of something that's more of a drama, but it has comedy elements. I think maybe it was, what's the word I'm looking for? It might have been promoted poorly with the expectations.
Okay,
well, they definitely pushed the boxing element. But let me get back to a couple of things Andy said.
Yeah, of course.
While I may not be on your Stallone levels, I do have some feedback.
Of course.
So you referenced Escape Plan also with Stallone and Schwarzenegger. I feel like if it was 15, 20 years ago, I would give credence to that comment. But these guys are, I hate to say it, at this point when they have that movie, they're not the top action guys anymore. And quite honestly, they may be even seen well past their prime. And if you said to me 15, 20 years ago, Stallone and Schwarzenegger, that's like a dream. Now with Escape Plan, I enjoyed Escape Plan. It's an escapist fair movie. 2 hours, I didn't think about my problems. Is it great? No. And I feel the same way about Grudge Match. When you talk about, I agree with Andy. Andy always sells expectation versus delivery when you talk about quantifying a movie. We've discussed Adam Sandler. He has a clear line of thinking, which I like. So in thinking about expectation and delivery, and again, you may hate this, and I've already kind of said this in my thoughts about Stallone and movies. To me, and again, you may kill this, but I wrote down Rocky IV. I just did not enjoy Rocky IV.
Wow.
And I'm not part of the judges, but I just want to, Rocky IV to me, even worse than Rocky V, because my expectation was Stallone was kind of out of the limelight and tempered. Rocky IV was right in the heat of it. I remember it's that MTV montage. Just to me, it's filling up time. And I watch movies now. For example, there's a new Charlize Theron. I don't even know the name. Old Guard on Netflix. They have like a 10-minute fight, and I'm like, they're just killing time here. It's just filling. These montages. So I guess for me, I put Rocky IV. Just my expectation was real high, and I felt like it didn't deliver. But I think all you guys laid out great reasons for your choices.
Those 10-minute street fights only worked in one movie ever. Which one was it, Evan? You guys should know this. Like just a 10-minute just beating the crap out of each other.
Was that Come Piper?
And, yes, thank you. They live. Yeah. Yes, thank you.
But even that one was it's over the top. It's almost a comedy routine. It's so ridiculously long that
it's legendary.
Yeah, it really is. John Carpenter. It's Piper. It's trying to be off-putting. It's trying to kind of be a unique
kill time.
Kitschy look at science fiction, so to speak. But very underrated movie.
Hey, by the way, we didn't do. I don't think we did Ryan's. Did we get Ryan's worst movie?
Yeah, he said it was Driven.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. We were going back and forth between that and Grudge Match. But another thing about
somebody better take their Ginkgo. I mean,
but another thing about Grudge Match, that I just remembered. And that I was hoping it would be in the style of, because it had the same director as Tommy Boy.
Well, that should have told you something. That was that Dennis Dugan?
No, that was Peter Segal. Peter Segal.
Who?
Peter Segal.
Peter Segal. All right, so you should have known it. They're going to play it for almost like family comedy fare, which it kind of was.
That's what I wanted. They had too much boxing, and that's, like you said, they're too old for that. So why center everything on that?
I'm tired of Alan Arkin as the wisecracking senior in every. There was that Magic movie. He's on like that show Rosencrantz, and on Netflix. He plays the same. Yeah, Kaminsky. He plays the same, and he's good. But I feel like he's gotten into parody. It's like, well, we need a wisecracking old white guy, Alan Arkin.
Well,
I mean, it's every movie.
Leslie Nielsen's dead, so you gotta get.
Hey, my phlebotomy is acting. It's the same. It's the same, and he kind of does that. If anything, there, I was like, But anyway, all right. Gru, is Survivor ready to go?
Yes, they're tuning up on the main stage. So without further ado, this is very exciting, very exciting, and. A surprise. We did not expect to get them here. So, if we are ready... Are they ready back there? All right, the guy in the monitor is telling me yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Survivor!
Yeah!
Howard Stern, he was our hero. Now he's hiding in his basement, leaving us out here with nowhere to go. Two annoying Jews past our prime. So many years, concerts and movies, trading our lives for WrestleMania. We lost our grip on our parents' dreams. Now we bitch and complain all the time. We're nothing worthwhile with no reason to live. Waking up every day, always crying. Selling blood and sperm for another Billy Joel show. Just to hear Allentown one more time, leaving us sighing.
In 84, on the fields of Camp Wayne, I was up, Moody was pitching. Then he hit me with a slow-moving lob, chased him down like the psycho I am. Now
we're nothing worthwhile with no reason to live. Waking up every day, always crying. Selling blood and sperm for another Billy Joel show. Just to hear Allentown one more time, leaving us sighing.
Here we are, broken, unhappy, middle-aged, high blood pressure.
All we got is this stupid podcast, hoping COVID won't take us alive. We are nothing worthwhile to annoying Jews, waking up every day, always crying. Spending hours on Phil Collins for no reason at all. Then the next week we do it again. Nothing worthwhile. We're nothing worthwhile. We're nothing worthwhile. We're nothing worthwhile.
Wow, thank you, Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. I got to tell you guys, they sound a little bit different. Back in the 80s, they sing a little bit off key. Hey, listen, everybody ages, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, how many surviving Survivor members do we have?
I think the guy who took over, I forget. I know the guy named Jimmy Jameson. He was the guy who sang on like Burning Heart and those mid '80s hits. The singer on he died probably about 7 or 8 years ago. But the original singer, he wasn't the original singer of Eye of the Tiger. That guy's still around, but he does like commercial jingles.
So Survivor should probably change their band name to Surviving.
Yeah. Hey-o! Wait a minute, let me get a rim shot there. Whee! Okay. Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah, we want to thank Survivor, and please check out our Survivor podcast in 2029.
The Survivees.
All right, the Survivees. All right, let's get back to our final two awards. We're going to go to Mr. Andrew Guthius first. Yo, Adrian, I did it. The Best Stallone Acting Performance. Gru, the floor is yours. Best Stallone Acting Performance.
The best Stallone acting performance of his entire career is in a little movie called Creed.
Interesting. Okay. Good choice.
Yes.
Lay out your case.
So I saw Stallone do things as an actor in this movie that I didn't realize he was capable of. It was really the first time, I guess, he was allowed to be Rocky without worrying about anything else. He didn't write the script. He didn't direct it. He was acting, and he was able to focus on that and just the emotions that he was able to tap into. It was basically a continuation of his performance in Rocky Balboa, but this one took it a step further. An Academy Award nomination more than deserved. He really did deserve to win. I'm still annoyed that he didn't, but this is the best acting performance I have ever seen him give, and in Creed 2 as well. But I give Creed the edge. He took the character places that he never did before, emotionally, physically, and just seeing what he was able to do with that really he just exploded off the screen. And it's like when he wasn't on screen, you couldn't wait for him to come back. Like you missed him. You're like, all right, let's get back to Rocky. That's why the Creed franchise is, a lot of people like the Creed movies better than a lot of the Rocky movies. Not me, because when Rocky's there, that's all I want. I really wasn't that interested in Adonis's whole backstory because of how great Stallone was in that movie. So yeah, that's my pick, Creed.
Let me toss it over to our other esteemed judge, Mr. Ryan Rebalkin. Ryan, certainly you can give your thoughts on Andrew's pick, and of course your pick for the Yo Adrian, I Did It Best Stallone Acting Performance.
Very good points, very good pick. I totally agree with you. And talking about what did we expect and what did we get? This is where something works in Stallone's favor. We weren't expecting this kind of performance from Sylvester Stallone. In fact, I remember when Creed was announced, I talked about this in our podcast. Shout out to my season 7. We're covering Creed now, and I agree with you that when Sly's not on the screen, it's a good film, sure. But when Sly's on the screen playing the Rocky character, it's an incredible film.
Yeah.
Because the character himself is incredible, and Sylvester Stallone's performance of Creed was something we haven't seen him do since my pick, of course, the original Rocky. But to go with your pick, though, just to step back a little bit, is I agree that we got something I didn't think we were going to get or ever see again. And we saw it, and it made me so excited to be a Sylvester Stallone fan again. And again, the Golden Globe and the robbery of the Academy, it's almost out of a Sly film, or a Rocky film where he gets picked but he doesn't win. It's almost apropos. But that being said, with the Rocky film, it's his greatest performance because with almost the same reasoning. They had no faith in this character. The studio, they had no faith in his acting. He was a bum as an actor, as they say. He was a nobody. And he showed the world what he has in him. And he's shown moments of this type of acting throughout his career since. We know Copland, we talked about. And some people might be screaming at their iPhones right now or their listening devices saying, why aren't you guys picking Copland? And I think the only thing working against Copland, we hinted at it, was he's not overshadowed, but he's at least, he's not, he's on par with everyone else that's great in that film. It's a great film with a great cast, and everyone's doing a great job. So it's hard just to say that he was the only one that's great. What makes Rocky what it is Sylvester Stallone's performance as Rocky. He carries that film. Everyone else did a great job, but he makes Rocky. His emotion, his scene on the bed there with Adrian before the fight, of course, was the greatest acting he's ever done. He talks about he wants to go the distance. I mean, it was done in one take. They only had one take. The whole story behind that was incredible. So yeah, I would be remiss to say I got to pick something outside of the Rocky franchise when really Stallone playing the Rocky character in the original film, it's the closest ever been matched. Yeah, it was Creed Part 1. So I agree with your pick, but we got to give a shout out to the original performance of Sylvester Stallone in Rocky.
Nothing to argue.
It's really, you guys really great. I thought your comments were both great. Going with expectation to delivery, I'm a little bit more actually in Gru's camp because I think that, Creed was definitely a departure. The only thing I'll disagree with Andy on and Ryan, which is, I feel like maybe you guys were veered a certain way when you watch Creed because, first of all, we're all in our 40s, and so we're big Stallone fans. I actually loved the Creed. I bought into the Creed lore, and I was just as interested in Michael B. Jordan and the girlfriend. I forget the actress that plays her.
Tessa Thompson.
The hearing impairment.
Bianca.
And even Miss Huxtable as
Felicia Rashad.
I don't. All right. Well, I actually really bought into it. And I thought Stallone did a great job. Now, obviously, I'm giving my opinion today, 49 years old, and so listening to everybody's thoughts, I'm going to just give you quickly my pick, and I'm not on the esteemed panel, but I'd love to hear your feedback. For me, it was Copland, because it was such a departure from what I knew from Sylvester Stallone. It's the one movie that I think, like, Gru's a Hollywood guy. He's a thespian. He's a real actor in this movie. He's mixing it up with some of the best. And he's if he's not in the prime, he's right on the cusp. He's not too old yet. And the weight gain and the character was such a departure from this iconic 80s action star that was very wooden, very broad, over-the-top performances. And it's a quiet movie. I mean, there's action, obviously, but his performance is quiet. There's the guns flying everywhere. And that final scene with the gun and the hearing, and he invokes sympathy. He's a guy, again, similar to Rocky. He's never reached his true potential. He's had an injury. He's always on the outside looking into the cool kids, the cops in New York City. He's had his back pushed up against a wall where he has to finally act. He's ignored all this nonsense for years. And I think both of you guys made a great case for your choices. But pure acting performance, Copland it kept on sticking in my head for this category, and I'm just curious to hear you guys' thoughts on my pick.
Well, I think between the three of us, if you ask anybody, I think we have covered the three best Stallone acting performances between the three of us. There's nothing.
I was just going to say, I'm glad there was a voice that did voice Copland, or else we would just have a lot of angry listeners. So everyone's been placated at this point, I think.
Yeah, but I can't. There's nothing that Evan said that is not true.
I agree.
And the only thing, and I know because I've known Evan a long time, and I think we saw that together during the summer. And I remember you loving it more than I did. I just didn't think it was a perfectly made movie. At the same time, the acting was what made it. Good.
And I don't disagree with you, but it's the category per se is acting performance. So I wasn't too worried about the overall. Movie I think suffers a little bit from too many stars. It's like everybody took minimum wage and kind of got jammed into the movie, and there's all these characters and side characters, and
Yeah, but you know what though? Like I think because we expected sort of that kind of thing from Stallone. We had heard about it. We had heard it was a departure. It was a whole, so it wasn't that surprising to me that he was good, because I've always thought he was a good actor.
Had you ever seen it prior to that?
No.
Because prior to
You're
that,
absolutely right.
He never, he tried the comedy thing. He's gained a little weight and kind of got out of that glamorous look, so to speak. But that was just a true departure. And there's your grudge match right there, because Stallone and De Niro are still somewhat in their primes. And that scene where they're mixing it up is just, it's intoxicating. And I'm not overstating it. I could watch that, maybe not the movie, but I could watch some of those scenes over and over again and truly enjoy it. And so that's one thing I'm passionate. I really loved. He really dressed himself down and took him out of what was comfortable, and I thought the results were enjoyable, refreshing.
Yeah, very, very. I just, he just watching him in Creed, hanging on every word, just, and even the deleted scenes that are out there that are criminally unseen, he's great in.
And similar to what you said about Creed, which I really enjoyed, the whole sort of cancer storyline, and he took himself in. Here was Rocky, who was this pillar of strength and action, and he's like an old guy relying on a young kid to get to his stool and chair, and I bought into it. It felt organic. It felt real to It felt real to me.
And how many ways could they have gone wrong?
It didn't feel like a cheap sort of plot ploy to get my sympathy. Like, it really felt true to the Rocky lore, and that's what I really enjoyed about it. And I agree. I felt like he deserved, an Academy Award, or for that. He did a great job. Past the prime of his career.
Yeah, there's one scene in there, the scene where the doctor is explaining how he can fight, and he sort of breaks down and he sort of recalls what Adrian went through, and his acting there was just like sublime. So that's my pick.
Yeah, we said a lot. Let me toss it to Ryan. Thoughts overall, Ryan, and everybody's picks, and just what
I don't want
after you're done.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, not in a bad way. Just you guys have said everything that I think a lot of people are thinking. Certainly, what I'm thinking regarding your picks and the reasons they're all. I can't argue with anything you're saying. I think the biggest difference, and you touched on it regarding Copland. It's not a great film in some parts. It's great acting performances, and it's a little bit discombobulated, a little bit of a rushed film. It's a film that requires multiple viewing just to figure out what's going on, because I was very confused when I saw it the first time. I really was, and I'm not a dumb guy, and I was like, who's this dead cop? Who is he to these people? It's a film that I think we talked about in our review of it that deserved almost like a 6-part miniseries on HBO.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff in it, but it could have been fleshed out, and they just didn't have time for it. So they packed a lot. There's a lot packed in, but everything that's packed in is good. All the acting is good, and the biggest problem I have with Copland now, looking at it back 23 years later, is I feel like the Robert De Niro character talking to Stallone's character by saying, "Stallone, you blew it. Yeah, bro, you had a chance to keep doing these kind of movies, but you blew it." I don't know. We've talked about this. I'm a huge Sly fan, but I feel like I don't know what. I think
you feel he was almost disrespected in the movie.
No, I feel like what I mean by this is that it took him to Creed to investigate this kind of acting again.
Okay.
I think Sly, and I love him, and I don't know. I'm not in his head, but I wonder. Like any of us, we're all human, right? He's comfortable doing action films. He's comfortable holding a weapon and punching on screen and doing stunts like The Expendables and Bullet to the Head since then, and these other films like Escape Plan. This is his comfort zone, and maybe he's like on the beach scene in Rocky III, talking to his agent. For the first time in life, I'm afraid. Maybe he's afraid. Maybe he's kind of afraid to do these roles. And people can say, well, Ryan, they're not offering it to him. There's got to be some independent filmmaker out there who would just, cream their pants if they found that Sly's looking for a film where it's like, I don't want to make any money. I just want to do a film for $300 a week, whatever the actor's pay is, and I'll go in your film. There's probably scripts falling out of his mailbox daily. So I understand people might argue in his camp saying, well, no one's offered him anything. I'm like, I think maybe he's just not comfortable. He's a little bit, maybe it does challenge him. Now, he when he puts his heart and soul into it, like Creed 2, Copland, he does a great job at it, but maybe it's hard. Maybe it's not something he likes to do, to tap into that real kind of acting that he can do. He just doesn't do it enough. So this is me as a Sly fan saying, it's too late. He's 74 years old, and these prime years are gone, and it sucks that he didn't tap that well more often. He had from 1990. So from 97 to 2006, there would have been 9-10 years where he could have easily 4 or 5 films where he could have been a mafia king or something, some sort of mobster, some sort of hitman or something. Like Tom Cruise has done it. Tom Cruise with that Collateral. He played a bad guy. I wish Sly played a bad guy. I wish he really played somebody who
Spy Kids.
Was. No,
I know. I'm kidding.
I know, and I agree. I knew you were going to say that, but it's just I've talked about it on my show, and I apologize to listeners who are listening to this, hearing me say this again. But it's as a fan, you're frustrated. It's like when an artist dies too young, even though Sly's still alive. You can't go back in time. Those years between the age of 45 and 60, which is really kind of a grizzled, cool years for actors, I hate to say it, for male actors.
Right.
You kind of blew it.
Maybe, yeah, but if I said that in thinking about this category, it was pretty close, but a couple of one other performance that came into my mind for it would you think I was nuts if I said First Blood?
No, and I considered it, and I kind of steered away from, I hate to say the obvious choices, but no, First Blood was an amazing non-verbal performance, which is actually a lot harder than you would think. You think
I
you're
agree.
just walking around, and no, his emotive in his face and his stoicism that he had, and it's an incredible. Next to Rocky, I would say Rocky 1, First Blood, Creed 1. There you go. Those are, and then Copland would be his top 4 performances. So I think there's people screaming at the screen who are First Blood fanatics who are saying, "Please acknowledge that." So I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I acknowledge the fourth Rambo also.
The great thing about debate is people will listen to this hopefully and spur on more debate. All right,
Absolutely.
Let's move on. This is the big one. We'll go to Mr. Ryan Rebalkin first. The Over the Top, our final award, the Over the Top award for Best Stallone Movie. Excited to hear both your choices. Mr. Rebalkin, the floor is yours. Over the Top, Best Stallone.
Okay. I preface this with just saying, obviously, it goes without saying it's Rocky. Now, pretend Rocky doesn't exist. That's where I'm going to go with my pick now. Because, for me, it's Rocky's everything. It has everything. It makes you cry every time. It's a perfect film. It's a perfect film. It's a perfect film. I'll go to my grave saying it's a perfect film. And Sly happens to be in it, and he does an amazing job in it. However, ... when it comes to Sylvester Stallone, the action star, the adventurer, or whatever you want to call it, when it comes to popcorn fare, what he's known for outside of the Rocky films, he's a popcorn film action star in the twilight of his days, and he pumped something out in the early 90s that encapsulated good acting, good script. So this is the best movie now. Incredible cast, incredible villain, one that almost made the villain role, and that is Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger.
Hot take.
Wait, hold on.
Well, thanks for your directing. Ryan, go ahead. I'll listen to him.
Aren't I allowed to play the Cliffhanger theme that I have all queued up?
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't know that because you don't.
We met in a production meeting, and I told you I was doing this.
I'm really going to mute your mic. Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead, please.
So,
let me hear.
Yeah. So for to be a Sylvester Stallone fan, you're outside of the Rocky films. You're kind of an action fan. You like action movies. You like the adrenaline, the masculinity that's on screen, and that's what Sylvester Stallone does. And he was absolutely Cliffhanger. Yes, it has some aged special effects because of his dating, but they did a lot of practical effects that have not been that badly aged. Incredible supporting cast, violent movie, brutal, bloody, a good, nice, hard R, rated R action movie, which I just miss nowadays with a lot of these pretty boy action films. I kind of miss those old days of just blood and guts and bashed heads, and this movie had it all. And incredible stunts. Great bad guy played by his name just escaped.
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow.
That was close for my best villain.
Yeah, mine too. I agree, but I thought I would just save it for this film. What made it so as a film overall? This is what makes this film his best: action, fun, popcorn, and kind of the last great one that he did in the theaters before his career, for whatever reason, in the mid '90s to the early 2000s, went down the toilet as far as box office draw and getting scripts other than Copland. So this was his last great popcorn flick.
And it's no coincidence that I believe he was the screenwriter. I think he wrote with somebody else, but I think he wrote it. And Cliffhanger is an awesome movie. I know Evan thinks so because we actually saw that one together too over the summer.
I actually just watched it a couple of days ago. It was on, I forget what streaming service, and I enjoyed it. Here's my one question. Was Cliffhanger, again, somewhat of a comeback film to the action genre, or was it right in his wheelhouse? That was the only thing when I watched it. I want to say when we went and saw it, he had been out of the limelight or maybe had some stinkers, maybe Judge Dredd and some of that deal.
No, I think Judge Dredd was after Cliffhanger. Right. I think he was coming off Oscar.
I'm asking our esteemed judge, Mr. Rebalkin. Thank you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Who runs the Sylvester Stallone fan podcast. Thank you.
You're absolutely right, because his last big successful film in the theater was Tango and Cash with Kurt Russell in 1989. And in 1990, he had the unfortunate Rocky V, which we know all about. Then he tried his hand at comedy with the 1991 Oscar, the 1992 Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. So at this point, his Rocky film failed at the box office. His 2 comedy attempts failed at the box office. And he'd made it known during interviews during those films, like, oh, I'm going to, try something different. I'm going to do comedies, da-da-da. And oof, his agent's like, dude, okay, we appreciate you trying to go out there and do that, but we ain't making any money. So you better find something. And Cliffhanger was that thing. It was like, people were like, finally a smart action film. So it wasn't just an action film, but it was a smart action film. And then he sort of followed up with a sort of a smart one. Not a bad one. I actually kind of have a special love for the Specialist. And then Judge Dredd came out after that. And then we went into the dredge of the 2000s. But, okay.
I think rewatching it, the one thing when listening to Ryan, it's a hard R. I mean, there are definitely some bloody scenes, the plane, the shooting, Leon getting the stalactites right in the chest cavity. So there's definitely some hard action there. All right, let me throw it to my partner in crime, Andrew Gruthius. Certainly can give us further thoughts on Cliffhanger. And then, Andrew, your choice, Over the Top, best Stallone movie.
Well, first, let me talk about Cliffhanger briefly. Everything you said was... You just said I could talk about it.
Yeah, I kind of didn't mean it, but go ahead. I'm joking.
Think about the actors in that movie. I mean, what a cast of really solid, character actors. Michael Rooker, Ralph
Who's
Waite.
the white guy with the mustache who plays an FBI agent in every movie?
Rex Lynn. He's great. Okay. He's a really solid character actor. Yeah. And Lithgow, definitely. Even the guy, I forgot his name, but the guy who the Australian, he's like, I was a good striker. Like, what a scene that was, man.
Yeah, your cheesy villains, which you just love. It had the great kind of die-hard type of villains, yeah.
Yeah, and it's no surprise that the director of Cliffhanger was Rennie Harlan, the director of Die Hard 2.
Yes.
But that same guy also directed Driven, though. Rennie Harlan also directed Driven.
Yeah.
But
Cliffhanger was lifted from Die Hard 2. No.
In a way.
Clearly. In a way. Clearly. Go ahead, Andrew.
But my pick. Now I'm not separating the categories, so of course my pick is the original and best Rocky. It's just, I mean, there's nothing we really haven't said. We've been coming back to Rocky the whole time. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. Best picture, but even without that, it's just the story behind it. There's really not much to say. Rocky is Rocky. And, I'll throw it back to you guys. It's one of the greatest. It's not my favorite movie of all time, but it's in my top 5.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm glad and I didn't want to glaze over it. It's only because I do a whole podcast on the Rocky franchise that it goes without saying if it's not my favorite film of all time, it's Stallone's best film, absolutely. And to say otherwise, you're just kind of like pandering to a hot take crowd. But that's why I wanted to preface, like, besides Rocky, the Sylvester Stallone film, But so I'm glad you just said it as it should be said, that Rocky is the greatest Sylvester Stallone film. Agreed.
Yeah.
So when I just want to get your thoughts real quick before we wrap up this wonderful award show. For me, I don't know why. Because I agree, Rocky. But I try to, and sometimes this is where I argue with Gru, because I try to look at it now, today, 49 years old. So I'm thinking, what is if I want to put on a quintessential Stallone movie, and I surprised myself, but I kept on coming back to Rocky Balboa today. I think that's a great reflection of maybe an older Stallone. I'm not arguing Rocky at all. Not arguing at Rocky at all. But I think for me, I was really so pleasantly surprised. Small film, almost an independent, independent movie feel to it. Even the training montage, it seemed realistic. He's got aches, he's got pains. He can't even do half the stuff he used to do. And I was just so pleasantly surprised with where they took the story, and was so happy that they were able to, I guess, in a sense, wrap it up. Obviously, we have the Creed. I was just so pleased with the job Stallone did, and even the ending was so touching. How with the chair in the cemetery and sort of disappears along the way. Just a great way to do it. I'm not going to argue anybody's points, but I'm just going to give a small non-judge nod to Rocky Balboa. Just felt like today, 49 years old, if I wanted to put on a Stallone movie, I probably would reach for Rocky Balboa first.
Well, Rocky Balboa...
You're not alone there.
Rocky Balboa, to me, is the reason that part of the reason that it's so great to me is that it could not, I don't think, it could not have been any better. Like, I feel like he got everything right. For a movie that when they heard about it, they're like, oh, enough already. Like, even I a little bit was like, after Rocky V, I mean, where else are we going to go? You know, like, just let it die. But, hey, I'll still be first one in line. And then when I went to see it, I was like, oh, my God, I can't believe that this. I can't even think of ways that, I look at Rocky V and I could point to 10,000 individual things that I wouldn't have done that. Like, why'd they do this that way? Why'd they do this that way? With Rocky Balboa, there's none of that. It's like, this is perfect. And the same thing with Rocky. If you look at that, okay, watch it with the subtitles. Do you guys ever do that? I don't always do, but movies that I've seen that I'm rewatching, I'll put the subtitles on. It is an incredible script from point A to point B to point C, like establishing who. By the time the story starts, we know everybody. We know exactly who Adrian is, exactly who Paulie is, exactly who Apollo is, even Apollo's trainer Duke and Mickey and Rocky. We know them all. We've lived with them for a half hour already. Then he gets the opportunity of a lifetime. And there's the whole build up to that. And then that third act is exactly what it's supposed to be. It is such an incredible screenplay. And which I think did the screenplay win the Academy Award?
Yes, it was editing, directing, and screenplay.
Yeah, so and rightly so. So but what you say about Rocky Balboa is spot on.
Oh, sorry, that was me, foggy brain. So it was nominated. So it won picture, editing, director.
It didn't win. Stallone didn't win the award for screenplay, huh?
No.
Okay.
So he officially hasn't. He doesn't have an Oscar. Because if you're a producer, you get an Oscar. They invited him up on stage to accept the Oscar, with the producers. But as you guys know, the producers get the Oscars for Best Picture.
Winkler and Chardoff.
Yeah.
So what was that Oscar that he gave? That he gave to himself? Remember that little Easter egg from the Rocky V DVD when Rocky meets Stallone? Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I have. Yeah, yes.
He gives him an Oscar.
Oh,
remember the end of that? Evan, you've never seen that little?
No, we've discussed for 2 hours.
I'm just asking a question.
I'm hungry,
Look at this.
And he wants to get into an Easter egg on Rocky V.
It was filmed for a TV special that was aired before the movie came out, and it's a fictional meeting between Sylvester Stallone and Rocky in Stallone's art studio.
Guess what's going on now? We got 35. They're all getting out of their seats and they're leaving before we have the band close us out.
Ryan, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do. I've seen it. I do.
Thank you. So it exists.
Yes,
but yeah, he gives him an Oscar. So I want to know what that Oscar is.
I think it was just a joke. Yeah, he's never won an Oscar. Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
Thank you, Ryan. Of course, it's a joke. Oh my God! I will say this about Rocky. When I watched it back, I think the subtitles, that's a good thing. I was struck by how sad of a movie it is. I mean, it's just really the first 3 acts. The final act, you see some redemption. But overall, when I watched it back again, it's pretty bleak. I mean, nothing goes well for Rocky. He just hasn't gotten a break ever. He just gets crapped on by everybody. And then he meets Adrian, and, I feel like he gets Butkus, and slowly the wheels start to turn in his favor. But I remember watching it going, wow, this is different when I was a kid. I mean, the kid I was motivated. Here I'm finding myself really kind of sad, Rocky.
But that's because Rocky, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Ryan, but Rocky in the beginning was a loser. And he was okay with that. They even say it. He's the bartender, Andy. He's like, hey, you're not happy with your life? Fine. Go ahead. But Rocky was a bum. He had no interest in fighting for the title. he was like fine with his lot in life. Then he meets Adrian. Then he starts, and all of a sudden he sees how much more he can be. Then he gets the shot at the big time. But yeah, he was a ham and egger, like he even said, and he was okay with that. And that's what makes it even more sad in a lot of ways. So you're absolutely right, Evan. Like, it really is sort of, like tragedy turned to triumph.
Well, that is it for the Stallonies. I want to thank, from the Worst of the Best podcast and the Sylvester Stallone fan podcast. I hope I got that all right, Ryan.
Yeah, so let me explain that for your listeners. So it's a network. So it's a Sylvester Stallone fan podcast network. If they Google that, what that network provides are 3 different Stallone podcasts from 3 different hosts. One is called the Rocky Minute Podcast, and this is a guy named Doug, and what he does is he breaks down the films 1 minute at a time per episode. And then you have the Slycast. He's like this is hosted by a guy named Craig. He is the kind of the godfather of Sylvester Stallone podcast. He started his early at 2013, 2014. He doesn't do as many episodes as we do now because he did start earlier, so he's kind of tapped out, but he's part of the network and releases sporadically through the network. And then there's our show, Going the Distance, the Rocky Series podcast, where we're on season 7 now, covering the Creed series. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly with that library, our Nothing Worthwhile podcast is a dim,
a redheaded stepchild.
Yes, but we enjoy your podcast. We enjoy having you on, Ryan. Enjoy being on with you, and so we thank you very much. We hope that you guys enjoyed. Ryan, you enjoyed the Stallonies.
I did. It was fun,
and hopefully we'll bring it back again for another actor or actress themed award show.
For our 2,500 download special?
We have an idea for our 2,500, but we got a ways to go. Yeah. We'll hit you up when we get there.
The Arnies.
It's in the family.
Yeah, it was,
you said the Arnie. You said the Arnies.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. We had a different one, but
yeah, it doesn't have to be for anything. The Arnies would be a fun one too.
You better trademark that, Ryan. You may take it. So. All right, Gru, appreciate it. We'll be on again next week with our regular podcast. We'll hold off and we'll put some stuff on Facebook to get everybody enticed for our next episode. But that is it for the Stallone Awards. Gru, appreciate it. And any final thoughts before we throw it to Jefferson Starship live?
Oh my God! Really?
Oh
they're here?
God. Yeah, they're here.
Oh my God! Reunited, Mickey Thomas, Grace Slick.
Yeah, Grace Slick. Baby, she has a walker, and she has.
Well, let's walk her on out here, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome the great, legendary Jefferson Starship.
All right, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week from the Stallonies. Thank you again.
Thanks, guys.
You say it's all over for you. back.